welcome everyone to Basic Facilitation Skills Session 1, Role of the Facilitator. This is the first of our set of 4 of online training webinar series for nonprofit organization groups and organizations for basic facilitation skills. Great to have all of you here today. My name is Scott Vaughn. Co-facilitating with me in this Basic Facilitation Skills 4-session webinar series is Heather Nicol. There is Heather. We are both with the Community Development Unit of Alberta Arts, Culture, and Status of Women. We would also, Heather and I would like to join us to take a moment to recognize that we are on the traditional ancestral homeland of many diverse people of Alberta, the First Nation, Métis, and Inuit, whose ancestors have walked and stewarded this land since time immemorial. We recognize our role as settlers on this land, and we're grateful to work, live, and learn on this traditional territory. We're located all across Alberta and acknowledge the land of many peoples, presently subject to Treaties 6, 7, and 8. This includes the Métis districts throughout Alberta. We make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation and gratitude. The goal of all of our webinars that come from the Community Development Unit is for board members in nonprofit organizations to have basic knowledge, skills, and tools to be successful. We realize that some of you may not be board members, and that's perfectly fine, but we want you to be aware that the information, the concepts, the ideas are presented from a board member of a nonprofit organization perspective that we're all about, that we represent as providing training and help for. Also, the information presented is aimed to be at an introductory level. As you can see, basic facilitation skills. So I know there's probably some people on here that have a lot of facilitation experience, have did a lot of training. You might find some of the things that we're talking about pretty basic because that is the name of the session. But hopefully you'll find some things in there too that will be helpful. But we certainly will be, gearing for those people out there that this is probably might be your first go or 2 or 3 at doing this, and we just really want to make sure you're clear. That is where we're aimed. You'll also find it as a refresher for you as board members to ensure you have the base levels understandings of facilitation and other board topic areas. So that's all of our sessions are geared that way, especially the basic facilitation skills. We also, on the screen, you can see the topic areas you can register for in this winter, including this basic facilitation skills session. Also, the link at the bottom of the page to register for any of these sessions we'll put in the chat box right now, and you've been seeing that link to register for sessions as you've been joining us in the way, as you came in today, this morning. We'll probably keep putting that in a number of times so that you're always aware of some of the other sessions you can register for. We also want to mention we have a really popular monthly newsletter that we send to subscribers usually twice a month during our busy months. If you wish to be notified of upcoming webinar sessions and other resources of our unit, and if you'd like to receive that letter, we'll put that link in the chat box so you can be a subscriber. And then if you put your name in there, you'll get your email, or we'll get your email address, and then you'll be on our list. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, and you'll be on that list for all our upcoming courses and training sessions from that point on. We also have a number of board-related self-directed online courses. This is courses you can go in and work through them yourself, and also video recordings, like we're going to do a video recording of this session that you can access via our nonprofit learning center. Go in there, find a course you're looking for, or simply browse through the many options that you're going to see are available in that nonprofit learning center. I think you'll find it very, very, a lot of information all in one place that you can work through and do some training, do some of your own self-directed training that you may want to do. And we'll also have to put that into the chat box as well. Thank you, Heather. Again, as I said before, we are with the Community Development Unit of Alberta Arts, Culture, and Status of Women. In summary, our unit provides support for nonprofit and community organizations in Alberta, as well as public sector organizations in Alberta in the areas of board governance, strategic planning, organizational development, consultations, and public participation. And we'll put in the chat box all the many different ways that you can get a hold of us. If you want to chat with us, send us an email. There's also a consult line. There's many different ways that you can get a hold of us. We are using automatic live captions for the session. So if you want to enable it, you'll find the button in the menu at the bottom of your Zoom. In the same place, you can also change the size of the captions by using the slider in the caption setting. And again, if you're connected by a smartphone or an iPad, your closed captions then can be found in the meeting settings by clicking the More button. We'll be using the chat box feature for comments, observations, sharing learnings today. So we'll use that for, quite a few times throughout our four days of the session, and a lot of other features as well. But please keep in mind that this is a public chat box intended for attaining your feedback, presenting information, teaching, and learning. So please provide your thoughts and comments with that consideration. Also, if we're talking about the chat box now, and we're always trying to get a good idea of how many people are with us, we can see clearly if each person that's there right now. But if there happens to be anybody with you that's viewing this session, maybe shoulder to shoulder with you in person in front of a computer or a laptop, maybe just give us that if there is one person that's with you, or maybe even more, just put that number. You don't have to put anything if it's just you in the chat box, but if there is somebody else with you, maybe just let's identify that there's a number, like put one, there's one other person with me, or there's two other people with me. If you could do that and put that in the chat box right now, we do like to get just to get a handle how many people are maybe sharing a computer with somebody else as they take in the session today. Okay, yeah, I see lots of those coming in. Thank you for that. Okay, I also want to mention, and I talked about it quite a bit already as you came in and joined us this morning. Many of the topics we present and related resources are in the Basic Facilitation Skills Toolkit today. Here in the chat box, we're going to put that link into the toolkit again, and you may want to have it nearby as we go through the sessions. There's a slide deck in there, so all 4 sessions slide decks are in that. You can take a look at what we're doing today for the slides, but also the slides for the next sessions on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday as well. Also, there's a basic facilitation skills binder that has a lot of the content information that we're presenting is contained in that binder. Sometimes when you click on it, it takes a little while for it to come up, but it will. Because there's a lot of information there, and that's yours to keep. So if you click on it, maybe save all that information somewhere on your device so that you have it long after these sessions are over. All right, yeah, thank you for Heather for putting those in there as well. The other thing I want to mention, we do this for all of our sessions and training, is before we get going this webinar, the information presented and the related materials are not intended to constitute legal advice. We are just sharing information. Today on facilitation is what our topic area is. We just want you to share. We want to share that information as to be helpful to you as you navigate your organization through its conversations, its work, its operations. All right. Okay, here we go. Overview of the Basic Facilitation Skills series. We have previously, for many years, from our community development unit since the early 2000s, offered the 3-day basic facilitation skills in person in a number of communities across Alberta. And now we're doing it online. And yes, it's still online facilitation. You think that's pretty much something that should be done in person all the time. So there are some things we were not able to do that we used to do in person. But I think you'll see there's a lot of things that we can do even online too. And here's the other thing. A lot of us are needing to facilitate online nowadays. So I think there's some good things that we'll be passing on. So we'll be talking about in person and online throughout the 4 days. The first session today, though, and this is really important to understand, we'll be really examining the role of the facilitator, because we need to be very clear on everything about the role of the facilitator before we start talking next week, where we start talking about preparing, designing facilitations, for delivering facilitations. We, first of all, this session 1 is going to be totally geared to make sure we're all very, very clear on what the role of the facilitator is, because there's a lot of facilitators that have done this work a lot of times. They're very, very clear. They're probably with us today too. But for those of you that maybe this is you're newly walking into this space, we really want to spend some time making sure you are clear, and we're all very, very clear on what the role of the facilitator is. On our next session on Monday, we will be moving into the designing and preparing for a facilitated session. So if you do have some questions in that area, hold those, because we're going to be walking right into the designing and preparing stuff on Monday and Tuesday, because we'll be looking at the what and the how, because in the third session, still is also going to be designing and preparing for a facilitated session, our Tuesday session. And our final session, finally, on the session 4, we actually look at the delivery of facilitated sessions. Now that you're right in front of the room or front of the screen, what are some of the things you need to be able to do on your feet and be able to be mindful of? But we really, as you'll see, spent a lot of time on session 2 and 3 talking about preparing, designing sessions, because if you do your work really, really good there, the session 4 we're doing delivering is actually, you've set yourself up for success for session 4. So that's why it's session 2 and 3 when you get into preparing and designing are so important. But today we really need to make sure we're understanding the role of facilitator. Again, keep in mind it's a basic facilitation skills training, emphasis on basics. And again, it's for people like yourselves that are in volunteer community positions seeking to make your board, staff, volunteer, and public engagement sessions more meaningful, or help others in your communities lead sessions in more of a facilitative way. And again, this session is not aimed as training for professional facilitators or facilitators not associated with the nonprofit sector. So, all of that in mind, a lot of information there. Let's move into what are we trying to accomplish at the end of our time from 10 to 11:30 today on the role of facilitator. Well, we're going to be able to understand explaining what facilitation is, understanding the different aspects of the role of facilitator, explaining how facilitation is different from presenting, training, and sharing, but supports each of those, and identify what characteristics and competencies facilitators need to have to be successful. That is what this session, with this hour and a half time that we have together here this morning, is going to be all about. All right, let's start those engines. I do see there one, is there a certificate for completion of? Unfortunately, we don't have these because this is not a certification course as such, so we do not have that. I know we get asked that question a lot, John, but I just thought I know there's probably others in the that are wondering about that too. So we do not have that as something that is part of this course. Sorry, but let's take a look at what is facilitation. The dictionary definition of facilitate, if you use that word, it's to make it easier or bring about. That's if you look into a dictionary or you look online, that's what you're going to see a lot. It certainly makes sense of what we're trying to do while we're facilitating a group, doesn't it? Now, if you put the shun on it, the word facilitation has many different aspects to it. We like to say that facilitation is the act of helping other people through a well-designed process to have productive sessions and reach an agreed upon outcome without getting directly involved in the discussion yourself. And there's parts of it that are an art and there's parts of it that are a science, and we'll talk more about that later. So if that's what facilitation means, then who is the facilitator? Overall, the facilitator is the person who's going to contribute structure and process to interactions so the groups are able to function effectively and make high quality decisions. That's where we're trying to get in there as a facilitator. So a facilitator is a helper, enabler whose goal is to support others to do their best thinking. So that's coming from us. That's what we what facilitation is. But I do want to hear from you what facilitation is. And we're going to do this. And part of the whole sessions over the 4 days is we're going to be throwing concepts, ideas, things you need to know out there, but also playing with some facilitation tools, and especially some online tools because we're online, that you might for content, but also you might say, oh, that's a tool maybe I could use myself and some other with your group, with your organization too. And we're going to start with it with a facilitation tool called a word cloud. And so we want to unpack the concept of the facilitator a little further from just the dictionary definition to a more working understanding. That's where we're trying to get to here. You've heard some things from me about the facilitator is, but let's get a little more working understanding of what that is. So we'd like to hear from you via live word cloud generator. What is the role of the facilitator in a word? Your responses to this question will be included with other participants today and be illustrated in the form of a word cloud that you will see on the screen. Before we put the link in the chat box, I'd like to show you how that works. This is what's going to happen when we put that link in. When you click on the link, you're going to get a screen like this. And you can put your name in. If I was me, I'd be putting in Scott. You'd be putting in your name, and then of course you'd click join. And then once you do that, you then can put in what is the role of facilitator in a word. I put in helper, and then click click send. And then that'll then automatically, as soon as you click that send button, it'll then pop up in the word cloud screen, which I'll show you in a couple of minutes. Now, there are a lot of people here today, and the word cloud does have capacity limits. So if you have trouble accessing and getting into the word cloud, then simply put your entries in the chat box. I know if you're working with a group of 20 or 25, 30 people, that would not be a problem. We have I think we have 150 to 200 people here today. So the word cloud won't work as perfectly as it will work for you if you're in your smaller session. But let's put that word cloud in. I'm going to show you with the screen right now what you're going to, where all your ideas are going to put in or put up. Well, yeah, put that. You can put the link into the chat box now, Heather, and click on that link, and then let's watch everybody's ideas pop up right away into the word cloud. And you can put 2 in there, up to a maximum of 2 ideas, and they'll just keep popping up. What is the role of a facilitator in a word? Yeah, seeing some people are finding their way in there. As you can see, some words are larger than others, because sometimes there's more emphasis been put on that word. It shows up that way in the word cloud. But you can also see the other ones are also good things that we can really be mindful of, and what the role of facilitator is too. So take a look at not only the ones that you're putting in, but what others are putting in as well. Yeah, I see lots coming into the chat box. I know it's going to be sometimes tough in them. So keep an eye on both, folks, both what's on the word cloud, but also what's in the chat box too. And I think they're both lots of ideas coming in both places, and that's good. So yeah, I've seen there's lots of the guides. Yeah, number of users exceeded. So yeah, I do see that our word cloud is pretty full. It's definitely not set up for a couple hundred people like we have here today. So anybody that's experienced it can't in. Don't sweat it, but still, if you can get your ideas in. All right, I think I see them all coming in on the very, very much. So some of the things you're saying, let's take a look at some of those. You keep them coming, but certainly a guide is a big part of some of the things you're saying. A supporter, enabler, you're empowering people, a supporter, skill maximizer. I like that. Tour guide, what else? Positive. I'm also seeing things like on the chat box, a coordinator, a moderator, a springboard, instructor, mentor. Yes, some of us can't log into the word cloud. Yeah, it's because it's full. That's why it's been difficult. I see one in there. Energizer, your role of facilitator, you're a supporter, you're a space holder. So I think we're getting a pretty good idea of what some of the key thinking, especially in a word, what the role of the facilitator is. Thank you for your thoughts and ideas into the chat box and also into our word cloud. The many there from both places. So I think, again, we're examining the role of facilitator. I'm going to pull that off right now, that word cloud. And I'm going to give you some more thoughts from us and I think you'll see them contained in your words, what the role of the facilitator was in the word cloud generator and the chat box. But somewhere, certainly, you can see all those. A few of them are like you're certainly around the role of facilitator. You're creating an open, safe, and participatory atmosphere. That's a big part of what you're doing. You're drawing out participant ideas. You want to have a balance of participation. Somewhere you're developing a process, a very focused, sequenced process focused towards reaching intended outcomes. Somewhere there's an outcomes part that you're building something for. We'll talk lots about that next week on Monday and Tuesday. Managing group dynamics, that's a session 4 thing we'll be talking lots about. Balance of participation. Often clarifying, reflecting back on what was said, summarizing key points, keeping the conversation focused, listening, observing. You're very much active, listening, observing, to ensure participants' needs are being met, And also, you're also interested in recording, ensuring there's methods, ideas, all that work we've done is being captured and recorded. So, so that's great. So that's another perspective, some key part of understanding the role of a facilitator. We're going to do another thing to continue our examination of the role of the facilitator this morning. And this is, as part of that exploration, we have a video we want to share with you. The video is called "What Do Facilitators Do?" And it was created by the International Institute for Facilitation and Change. At the conclusion of this video, once I pop it up there in the screen, and you'll be listening to it and viewing it, we'll be asking you for your thoughts on what stood out, what resonated with you from this video. So including what additional gems we have learned about the facilitator from what we've already been spending some time about the role of facilitator. So take a note or two as you listen to it, and see what other things that we're gleaning from the role of facilitator when you see this video. So I'm going to pop up that video right now. Just give me a second to do so. Here it is. Did everybody hear the video?
Many people ask us, what do facilitators do, really? What value do we add? Effective facilitators fulfill at least 3 roles when working with a group. In the planning stage, we are like architects. We gather information about the group and its context, consulting with the client to clarify the purpose and desired outcomes of the facilitation. Then, we propose a design that we think will meet the group's needs. Our designs usually take the form of a results-based agenda. This is the blueprint we use when working with the group. Like any good structure, our agendas must be strong but flexible, capable of withstanding stress and of being adapted to the emergent realities of the situation. Once the agenda is designed and agreed to by the client, our role changes from that of architect to pilot. Now we must prepare carefully for the group's journey. We double-check the requirements of the meeting room, making sure that it is clean and arranged according to our specifications. We see that all printed material, handouts, and supplies such as easels, paper, and colored markers are available. We also make sure that those who will be fulfilling crucial support roles, such as note-takers, timekeepers, translators, sound technicians, and others, are ready to go. Once the group arrives in the meeting room, we need to brief them on the agenda and present any ground rules to be observed during the session. We explain our role as facilitator and answer any questions about the flight plan. During this phase, the facilitator's main goal is to clarify where the group is going and the map to get to the destination. Once airborne, meaning once the meeting has started, the facilitator as pilot must be constantly alert to changes in weather conditions as reflected in the group's mood. We must be ready to respond to unexpected turbulence and other threats to the group's safety, making mid-course corrections as necessary. Finally, we need to land the plane, bringing the group back to Earth with a sense of closure and gratitude for a safe, productive journey. While the skills of the architect and the pilot are fundamental to the facilitator's role, there is one other aspect that needs to be understood: the facilitator as guide. We need to lead the group through what is often unexplored territory. We must provide a calm, steady presence, capable of helping the group work through its moments of panic, doubt, disagreement, or despair. Like all good guides, we must be alert and resourceful, but above all, we need to transmit confidence in the processes we propose and the group's ability to face its challenges and make good decisions. This skill is obtained through our own inner work and lots of practice with groups. With these resources, we can stand in the heat of debate and transmit a clear message. Yes, we can. So there you have it, the 3 dimensions of a facilitator's role: architect, pilot, and guide. It is not necessarily an easy job, but it's never boring.
All right, there's the role of the facilitator. We'll just pull that off the screen. Now I want to hear from you. What resonated with you in this video? What are some new things that we learned about the role of facilitator? What stood out? What was maybe some new things that you heard? So I'd like you to put your thoughts into the chat box right now. Yeah, there's pilot, safe open space, 3 roles, strong but flexible. The pilot skills were new for me. Somebody mentioned support change, the many hats. Projected confidence is really important. You're guiding people. Yeah, flexibility. Potentialities unite. That's a unique way to put it. Role must be robust. Yes, being calm, steady, resourceful. That guiding role coming back again. Delegating different roles. That calm, steady presence. Listening. Yes, we'll talk a lot about that coming next week. Grounded. Land the plane. Yeah, the whole idea about the facilitator being architect, pilot, and guide. Yeah, that, precisely. I think as you mentioned there, I think that encompasses this whole area, this new perspective that we've added by the video. Preparation, organization. Yeah, critical to success. Yeah, the facilitators, there's an important role we're playing when you are a facilitator in a group, in an organization. And I really enjoy doing these sessions because I think this is what you're going to do in the communities is an important role, and is going to be very, very important for the people that have the opportunity that you get to work with. All right, thank you for your thoughts on that. What do facilitators do? We're continuing on though, this examining the role of facilitator. Now we're going to take a look at it from the perspective of what makes presenting, training, sharing, and facilitating distinct from each other, because there's those roles that are close and are very similar to facilitating that we want to, and see how they all work together and complement each other. And we're going to do this by having you share your thoughts to this question: what makes presenting, training, sharing, and facilitating distinct from each other, by a mural board. And I know that for some of you, a mural board is not a new thing, but I know for others, again, with this being a basic facilitation skills, that the mural board is something very new that you might not have seen before. Certainly since about 2020 till now, we have become, this mural board has been a really, really helpful tool for facilitators to lead facilitated sessions online. And we're going to use it today to help get your ideas on the question. And I'm going to, we'll be putting the same thing like we did before. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the mural board, and then we'll eventually put a link into the mural board. And you're going to answer this question. You're going to put your ideas into these squares. What makes presenting, training, sharing, and facilitating distinct from each other? But before we put in that link, we just want to make sure that you're clear on how some of the things you can do and maybe not so good things to do on the mural board. You can't really do anything wrong. Anything that we do here is your main thing is you're going to give us some more ideas of what makes presenting, sharing, and facilitating distinct from each other. So let's just start with basically what a mural board is. It's basic functions. Think of Zoom. This Zoom that we're on today, that's our meeting room. If we were in person, the Zoom is very similar, as to what a meeting room is. And this mural board, if we were in person, we would look to the wall space where we're going to do some work in. Like you would walk in and you might see this question up there already set up on the wall of what makes presenting, training, sharing, facilitating distinct from each other. That's set up on a wall with ready to have your ideas put into it. So think of it that way. how to navigate this mural board. Once we put that link in, now that's going to be your, I'm certainly your next question is, one of the key things you need to do is be able to, I'm navigating by my mouse pad. You may navigate through, there's navigation setting. You may want to do it through through a trackpad mode where, so with my mouse, there's a roller on the top where I can move in and out of this mural board at any time I want to do. So anybody that has a roller on their mouse, that's how you move in and out. You can also do that by, you can see at the bottom right where you can also increase the size of the mural board for yourself right there. That's for you. You won't be affecting anybody else when you're doing that, so don't worry. But that's for you. So that's either way we'll do that. But if you're doing this with a trackpad, then you're using your fingers to pinch to zoom and a 2-finger swipe to move over. So you'd be using that if you were on a trackpad mode. I'm on a mouse mode, so I'm going to go back to that and use it there. One of the key things you do to move around the mural board is see all this white space. This white space that is here, that's really important space because you click on a white space to move and drag. So you click and hold your mouse to the spot where you want to see. So if let's say we're going to work on this, which will be what makes presenting, training, sharing, facilitating distinct from each other, I click and hold on a white space and I'm there. Now, the reason we say a white space, rather, if I click and hold on one of these stickies and I move, then you move it out of its spot. It can always be put back, so that's no big deal. But certainly clicking on a white space to move, and then once you get it maybe set up to the size where you want it, then you can move in with your roller and then maybe move it down a bit, ready to put in your idea. So how do you put in your idea? You simply click on a square like that, like put in there, and then I put my idea in there. That's all you do. And then when you're finished, then go back to that white space and click on the white space for your idea to be captured on the mural board. Hopefully that makes sense. As you can see, we've already put a few ideas or one idea for each of the categories already. So that's what you're going to be. You're going to be populating all these stickies. You don't have to go in order. If you want to start when you come in and do one down further, that's perfectly fine too. But simply you'll click on it, click on one of the things. Then maybe then you're going to move over. Remember that white space click I talked about? Find another space, put your idea in again, and then continue moving on till you get to all the 4 categories, which is what makes presenting, training, sharing, and facilitating distinct from each other. Because remember, we're doing a little bit of content and a little bit of using some of the facilitation tools together as part of our demonstration. I'm just going to put my gibberish off there because we want really good ideas to come in from you into the 4 categories. That is the key things you need to know when we put that link into the chat box. You can keep going. And for some reason, the mural board doesn't work. The good thing about the mural board, you can accept a lot of people. It won't be like that word cloud where there's limitations. So you should be able to get into it. If something moves, don't sweat it. That's perfectly okay. If you want to practice one, there is a mural practice space. If you just wanted to try one down here first, before you get, be brave enough to go check onto the 4 columns, then this is another spot where you could just try, what is your first name? Put that in. How have you used the mural board before? You can use those 2 areas if you want to practice first before you take on the actual question, which we'd like you to move to. What makes presenting, training, sharing, facilitating distinct from each other? So the link is into the chat box now. Give it a try. I know this can be a little daunting, but give it a try. Try it out. And for some reason it's just not working for you, always put your idea in the chat box, and we'll try to find a way to put it there, or at least we'll see it in the chat box too. So either way is fine, but certainly give the mural board a try. All right. Lots of ideas coming in now. It's chaos. That's normal. That's what it looks like. If you're facilitating online, all those ideas coming like that, like they are, that is normal. That is typically what it looks like. You see everybody, you can, even people that are coming into it, you can see them. And that's kind of handy too, because you know that people are working if you were facilitating this. And the question, the mural board isn't, well, there is some cost to the mural board. We're going to put in some links on how you can access the mural program here near as we get near the end of this section. So keep that in mind. I see a question from J Mark. Yeah, yikes is probably a good word. It is a little yikes, but you can see people are working. And again, you would have maybe 15 or 20 people Probably in a smaller group working then. It's not quite as chaotic as you see here when we have what 232 of us on this session. So it's crazy when we have it this many. But as you can see, I bet you if you had 5 or 10 or 15 people in your smaller group, this would work quite wonderfully. So yeah, lots of ideas. Lots good, really good seeing people getting in there. That's excellent. Just find a square, put a thought in there. That's perfectly good. I see people are some grabbing some different colors there. They're brave people. That's cool. All right, keep them coming, folks. You're doing great. Yeah, you're doing super. Look at all these ideas here. Probably give you about let's give you 3 or 4 minutes more. We want to give it a try. Make sure everybody gets a chance to put an idea. If you're really brave, you want to see if you can pull over a sticky note over here on the left. There's sticky notes, and you can actually bring one over and add to one of the columns if you want to give. For those of you that are getting braver, you can see on the left, and there's a spot where it says sticky notes, and then you can just grab one and bring that sticky note over and add it. Even if it's a different color, that we don't care. That's perfectly fine. So if, again, somebody wants to try that feature out, that's another thing that you can do, and pull one over. And put it in the right area. Yeah, I see some brave people happening. That's good. But it's wonderful what we're seeing on the thing. Okay, well, winding down, get your final thought in there. We're coming down to probably the last 30 seconds of doing this. Yeah, I agree, Michael. Miro is a great tool for remote workers to collaborate and brainstorm. I think it's one tool that's really come out well, since we've all had to been, especially when we had to start going online that 2020 years, and I think we've found ourselves leading sessions this way a lot, and I know that many other facilitators have as well. I just say there's Scott A is having some challenges trying to get the direct download link for the toolkit. I know that you've been trying a couple times. Shannon, if you happen to be hearing us on this one, yeah, we have tech help way behind us that's on this too. Is there something that we could maybe help Scott with to get that toolkit? I do know you have to put a password in to make it work. Okay, let's take a look at that. Thank you. What are some of the key things? You can keep them coming, but I'm going to highlight maybe some of the things that you said on these. I'm going to pull them in there. What makes presenting, training, sharing, facilitating distinct from each other? Certainly presenting, I'm seeing one way, one-sided, less interactive, and it can be engaging. I think you're right. Somebody put engaging. It can be engaging. But we'll talk about that, how it can become engaging presenting. Yeah, there's maybe on its front, it's less interactive. You're sharing information. Your ideas are the main focus. It's a clarity of instructions. There's probably preparing. Maybe there's a PowerPoint involved. You're sharing information to an audience. You're sharing organized ideas. You're sharing information. Certainly a part of it, someone explaining, describing, or showing someone something to a group of people was coming down to. Okay, what did you say what do we have for training? Training, you're teaching new skills. You're still sharing information. You're developing processes. You're exploring knowledge. You're giving information, but with dialogue. You're teaching new things. You're teaching new skills. You're developing processes. You're demonstrating skills to a group who do not have them. That's a good way, covering a lot of ground with that one. You're sharing knowledge and skills and you're inviting participation of the audience. Yeah, you're exporting knowledge, another way to look at it. Instilling knowledge, ensuring people understand. So you're teaching, demonstrating new skills needed, for a position that person might be doing or leading in some way, shape, or form. Now let's move to sharing. Sharing. Close, but not quite. Now, so what are some of the things around sharing? You're leading a group through an agenda. You're managing or controlling a meeting. You're leading. You're moderating. You're guiding the conversation. You're monitoring the time and being a nonpartisan. You're managing. You're requiring leadership. You're keeping the group on track. You're keeping the group rolling along. You're timing. You're careful. You're watching timing closely. You're directing communication. You're guiding the conversation. You're coordinating the information. The agenda is focused. Yeah, your agenda, you're very much agenda focused. And the meeting seems to be much more, maybe as rigid, perhaps tied to some goals that you want to accomplish at that meeting. And you're listening and making a final decision to either by consensus or not, whatever that might be. So yeah, that certainly sounds like sharing, doesn't it? So thank everybody for your thoughts around sharing. Now let's take a look at facilitating, the final one. You're engaging, you're neutral, you're adapting to change. It's all three combined. Let's keep that thought in mind. You're allowing participants to be the ones. You're supporting interactions. You're guiding a conversation, helping participants with their thought processes. You're planning and guiding the conversation, coming to an outcome. Yeah, there's some outcomes involved, isn't there? We're talking again lots about that next week. You're dynamic. Yeah, the dynamic part of leading the session on your feet. Resolving conflict. Yes, supportive guide. You're encouraging self-inquiry. You're seeking out people who are not speaking up. Great, super examples here we're getting. You're a guide. You're supporting someone group to generate ideas that they are capable of implementing to achieve their desired goals. You're allowing participants, you're guiding, you're helping people through a process. You're encouraging participation. So really good stuff. You're supporting. I even like the people that put some different colors in there. Thank you for adding some of the colors that you have. So yeah, we've learned a lot on this mural board from what makes presenting, chairing, and distinct from each other. And you can see there's a lot of information generated in a short period of time. A wonderful thing about a mural board. And you can even make it with 235 of us, which is incredible. And it really, probably its strength that lies when you have a group of 10, 15, or 20. But you can see there's some things that you can do even when you have a lot of people as well. And we've learned a lot about, again, our whole purpose today to understanding the role of facilitator. We got a lot of ideas from all of you of what you see the role of a facilitator is in a very short period of time. Okay, you can keep putting your ideas to the mural board. I'm going to pull it off right now because I do want to move into talk about one more area. And I do want to ask you a couple things I want to put in there. Talking about presenting, what makes presenting, training, sharing, facilitating distinct from each other. And we're going to put some mural board links in there. If you could put those in too, Heather. Anybody, I know there's a lot of interest about this mural board. How can I get more information about it? Is it free? What does it do? Well, we're going to give you a whole couple of resources that we'll put into the chat box right now that you can do your own little research around it on a couple links that you'll find helpful. But let's take a look at what makes presenting, training, chairing distinct and chairing and facilitating distinct from each other. Here are some thoughts that we're going to add to all your many, many good thoughts. First of all, what is presenting? And I think you said it very, very well. Someone shows, describes, or explains something to a group of people. So it's basically, there's a lot more one-way communication, and it's maybe in its essence. I'm explaining, you're listening, the presenter has a subject knowledge and they're imparting it to the audience. But keep that thought in mind. It's not all just that. It's also training, a process. What is training? It's a process by which someone is taught the skills that are needed, let's say for an art, a profession, or a job. Therefore, it's about acquiring usable skills needed for a position. So when the word taught is used, it conveys a process of somebody with a knowledge on the topic who is transferring it to others so they can use that knowledge in the position that they're in or going to be in. Chairing defines chairing as sort of that seat of a person presiding at a meeting, isn't it? You know, chairing a meeting is in fact being the person who's controlling the pace, the process, the agenda of the meeting. I saw all of that in your thoughts and your ideas on the mural board. The meeting chairperson is responsible for the meeting outcomes and maybe contributing their thoughts towards that. And facilitating, as you move to the far right side here, we're walking down this continuum, if you will, is in its purest sense, being the far right, where the facilitator is solely responsible for the process and remain neutral to content in its purest sense. But here's one thing that is really important to understand that really links all these together. Or facilitation techniques can be used to enhance a presentation. Like it can enhance, facilitation can be used to enhance presenting. Facilitation can be used to enhance training. Facilitation can be enhanced, you know, can enhance chairing. So how does that look? How does that happen? So I'm going to provide you some examples of each. Facilitation techniques to enhance a presentation. Here's an example. For example, let's say if you're making a presentation, let's say on new legislation that all nonprofits must follow. You're leading that, you're presenting that session. You may have a Q&A session at the end for participants to ask clarifying questions. That Q&A is a facilitative technique to enhance the understanding of the information presented. You know, so that happens a lot, doesn't it, when we're presenting? So presenting in its purest form is information out, but then we add the facilitation part to it and it becomes a whole lot more. Also, facilitation techniques to enhance a training session. If you're leading a training session with nonprofit board members on making your boards more diverse and reflective of the community you represent, let's say you're doing that training, you may have them move into small groups to discuss the information in the training session, you know, and they determine how they might implement the training session strategies they just heard in their training in their respective communities. So having small group discussions in this example is a facilitative technique to enhance the learnings of this training session. Okay, what does facilitation techniques look like if you're chairing? Another example. Let's say as a chairperson of your board, you may facilitate an important conversation with your board members on whether to continue renting, let's say, a facility you're in now or secure your own space for your organization's programs and activities. This is a big and impactful decision for the board and organization. To do this, you could have board members identify the pros and cons of continuing to rent like they're doing versus securing their own organization space. That utilizing a pros and cons process is a facilitative technique that a chairperson could use to enhance the likelihood of arriving at the best decision for the organization moving forward, whether to rent or to get their own facility. In fact, as a chairperson, you may utilize 2 or 3 of these facilitation techniques to ensure good discussions with your board, leading to this important organization decision. And we'll talk a whole bunch more other facilitation techniques coming up, especially in our session 4. So these are all examples, simple examples of facilitation techniques to enhance presenting, training, and sharing. And certainly you could use a whole bunch more in-depth ones, like I said, we'll talk about before. But just, again, we wanted to show how important it is. Facilitation is linked to presenting, training, and sharing as well. So hopefully that makes sense. One more thing that please also recognize in this continuum, as you go from presenting to training to chairing to facilitating, you also become primarily a content expert when you're presenting, but as you move through each, you become increasingly more a process expert. Hopefully that makes sense too. And of course, when you're facilitating, you're all about the process, but always keep in mind that good presentations, training, and sharing are always supported and complemented by facilitative efforts. And I'm sure you've all experienced that too, but certainly as facilitator, we're really being mindful of that too. Okay. Let's take a look. What are some common or typical situations where facilitation are used? And we're going to simply use the chat box for this exercise. We've been doing through a whole bunch of facilitation tools, and now we're going to chat box is a facilitation tool, but let's use that one solely here. And I'd like you to populate the chat box right now. What are some common or typical situations where you see a facilitation or facilitator is used? Yeah, strategic planning, big time. It's used lots there. Yeah. Community meeting. Community consultations. Yeah. Workshops, focus groups. Yeah, you've got a brainstorm sessions, hosting a workshop. Difficult, uncomfortable conversations. Thank you, Geraldine. Yeah, that's definitely comes into play there. You'd have to do a lot more planning and thinking, which we'll talk about in one like that. But it can be very, very helpful. Problem solving, succession planning. Yes, that's a really good one, Annette. Initiating a project. Conferences. Yeah. Planning conferences even too. Instruction. Yeah, keep them coming, folks. Even if you're putting it in one that was up there before, was one of your first thoughts. That's all good. Conflict resolution. Yes, facilitation can be used around conflict resolutions very much. Deciphering multiple groups' intentions. Katie, that is a really good one. Sometimes there's different perspectives come in. You have to lead this group into a one way that we're going to go together. That can happen a lot, especially in a community. I think that's people have different ways they want to go, and so, but we do have to have some common direction here. Quality insurance, support groups. I'm a mother too. Laugh out loud. Yeah. Facilitation can be used within parenting too. There are some times when that can be very helpful. Especially when you see, we talked about a word conversation that we'll talk about in our, I think that's our third session, or next Tuesday. Risk management, mediation, debriefs. Yeah, all great examples of those. I think you're really getting the sense of it. So conflict management, super good stuff there. Okay, thank you. Keep them coming on the chat box. I am going to move on. What are some, oh, sorry, I just want to add a few things to that. I'm turning over to Heather real quick here. Some of the things just for our own, some of you may think, well, some people just think, well, facilitation, like client case management with families and service providers, that could be one range. You can also use your skills at a board meetings, workplace meetings, like you said in the chat box, really, really well. Organizing events, facilitating a team project. Yeah, I think I'm just sort of going over some of the things you talked about. In our community development, unit, our work largely with nonprofit organizations, government ministries. Some facilitations we find are fairly straightforward. Others are extremely complex or contentious. I certainly saw that range in the chat box too from your examples. A high percentage of the projects we do involve planning. And I think that came out very, very clearly. Strategic planning, visioning, developing mission, goals, fundraising plans, board succession plans, actions plans. We also facilitate public consultations or stakeholder engagement projects where we design and deliver a process to gather input or feedback, usually for decision makers. An organization wanting to input on its direction from its members. I definitely saw some of those. A government ministry gathering input from citizens across the province, or maybe a municipality getting feedback from community members. Sometimes we're asked to facilitate a meeting to address a very specific, often difficult situation. How are we going to rebuild our community from the wildfires? So as you can see, big or small, simple or complex, there is a lot of situations and opportunities out there in which facilitation efforts can be helpful. So hopefully it can really broaden our perspective of what the role of facilitator is and what some of the situations where facilitation can be really, really helpful. So I'm now going to turn it over to Heather to lead us in the final part of this session today. I've got a whole lot more coming next week, but today, talking about the role of facilitator, where we want to explore, and this is, what are the qualities, characteristics, and competencies of a facilitator? So Heather, I'm turning it over to you now to take it from here.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Scott. Give me half a sec here, and I'll just rearrange my slides and everything on my screen here. Okay, we are going to move back into Miro for an activity in just a moment, and I'm okay, I'm going to leave your slide up for just another sec, Scott.
Sure.
A successful facilitator demonstrates certain qualities or characteristics to be effective in leading group processes. Some come naturally to some people, while others have to be learned and honed with practice. Think about a really good facilitation you have experienced. Try and recall that one great facilitation and/or facilitated experience. What made that facilitation good? Why was it memorable? What made it special? To answer the questions and to gather your responses, we are switching back into Mural. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. And I'm going to give a bit of an explanation here before I open up the top secret area. So you just hang on to those your cursors as well. If you can kind of keep them to the left, that would be great. That's appreciated. There is quite a few of us in here today, and there's lots of ways to manipulate Mural, and there's lots of stuff, but we don't have a lot of time to give you the in-depth instructions as well. So we kind of just have to go with it is how it is right now. Okay, so as a reminder, all the instructions for Mural are in the top left corner. So you need to be able to zoom in to read the stuff. Zoom out to figure out where the heck you are. If it's not quite working well for you, then check those navigation settings as well. That's super important. So the navigation settings it looks like a kind of a hand and with a screen behind it. And that should be on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. And just double check to see if you're in mouse mode or trackpad mode, because if you're in the wrong one, Mural's not so fun. Excuse me. So again, double check your settings. Navigation settings, super important. To move around, to click on that white space to move yourself across the screen. Anything that you typed in is not locked down, so you just got to be mindful of not moving other people's work around as well. Again, zoom in to read, zoom out to figure out where the heck you are. As well. And then, of course, you've already figured out how to do the sticky notes as well. And one final thought is that if you have a pop-out or tabs on the right side of your screen, there's an outline function that sometimes pops up for folks. Close it if you can. There's a button here that looks like this. I'm using my pointer. If you're following and seeing where I am, I'm on the very left side of the screen. It's okay to close the pop-outs. If there's an outline function, and go ahead and close that. And that should be up somewhere on the top right kind of side. If you have a tab, go ahead and close those is the point there. Okay. So the question we are working on, come along with me. We are zooming out. We're moving across. And one final thing just to mention is that when you are writing is that you need to zoom in to read the stuff and you need to zoom in to type, because what happens if you make this your sticky or your square big, then it makes it big for everybody else as well. Everything else stays the same and you can manipulate your screen, but that's one piece that's super important that you need to do. So let me remove my top secret space, and we are working on the royal blue squares here. And the question is, what are the qualities, characteristics, and competencies of a successful facilitator? And individually, just write your ideas on the squares here on our grid. One idea per note, please. 2 to 3 words-ish, stop at 7. We don't need the paragraph. And we'll just give you about maybe 3 or 4 minutes just to get the ideas in. We are going to stay here and do some process as well. I'm going to just turn on my timer. We're going to fill up these squares really fast. So do one and then just kind of take a look and read what everybody else is saying as well. Again, it's going to look messy and chaotic, and that's okay. We're simply getting the ideas and answers out of your brain and collecting them. So trust the process here. I'm going to be silent here for the next 2 minutes or so, and we'll just let you guys create some. What are those qualities, characteristics, competencies of a successful facilitator? Okay, find one of those empty squares again. Okay, and as a reminder is that you need to zoom in to the squares instead of trying to make the square fit your screen so you can read it. That's an important piece as well. Okay, I'll give you another minute left. Give you another minute or 50 seconds or so to finish up. If you're having any trouble, go ahead and add it to the chat box as well in Zoom. We can see your responses there as well. Okay, 20 more seconds. Okay, it looks like all our squares have filled up. Good work, you guys. Thank you for that. That's pretty great. And I just checked the number. And if you wanted to know that there is 150 of us in Mural together as well. So well over half of you guys were able to join Mural. So thank you for trying it as well. So I do see the responses are slowing down. The boxes are filling up. So that's great. So the next piece in this process, and the question is, we need to look and take a look at what we wrote and which two ideas are very similar. So maybe let's just see here, which two ideas are very similar. I see here's an active listening one. And is there another list? Here it is. Here's the listener. So if you're looking at my screen, or if you're with me, as I just clicked and dragged two active listening and listener down to the bottom. So I am just going to clear off my cursors here just to make it quite focused. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some matching and some grouping here. So we need to place the similar ideas together. So is there any other listener, active listening, that type of related ideas? There we go. Thank you for the person that just added the next two. That would be great. And then what I would like to do is to get some groupings here, and I'm going to let you guys do it. So please go ahead and start moving similar ideas together. So there are some images down below the boxes, and those are placeholders. They're just images, just a place so we know where we're just to create the columns that we're looking for. So we're making columns of similar ideas. Please go ahead and start moving the squares to sort them into clusters of common ideas or things that you think go together. And take a look, read what's there, and then just see if you can add to it. So I'm just going to give you another 2 minutes just to do that. I'll kind of work on cleaning it up as we go. Don't sweat it. We can't break Mural, or we haven't yet, so it's not a problem. But I'll just check in here. Looks good, you guys. And again, this process isn't going to be quite perfect and super clean because of the amount of people we have in here, but no problem. And again, if you want to find one from the top, just click on it and drag it down. Looking good. Okay, 2 more minutes to see if we can get them sorted. There is space here that if you have one that doesn't fit anywhere and there's a couple, you can make a new grouping over here to the right. Good job, you guys. Okay, we've got a few left at the top. We're getting there. Okay, another 40 seconds and then we're moving on. Last chance to grab them from the top, drag them down. And I see in the chat box, Heather, how do you hide the cursors? A little tough for you guys to do today because you all entered as visitors. But if you can find your icon at the bottom of this screen, Scott and I are really obvious because we have accounts, but if you can find yourself, there's a way to show cursors and broadcast your cursor. So there's options for you to do that as well. I can turn that on and off because I know which icon I am, but there are 108 of us in Mural together at the moment, and you guys have all entered as visitors. So maybe you can find yourself, maybe not. Sorry, you might have to put up with it as well. Okay. There's our timer. So just pause for a minute and let's just take a look. So what's happening here is we have under this first column, we have active listener, good listener, empathy, good listener, good communicator, curious. Yeah, integrity, paraphrasing, makes the participants feel heard. What word or phrase could we kind of describe this grouping? Anybody? Oh, Scott's in there, I think. Does anybody want to just take a word or a phrase and we'll just add it to this dark blue column here? And then we're gonna, I opened up all these other scores as well. So what would we name the second grouping here as well? There's calm, patient, aware, neutral, thoughtful, not critical, safe, space, non-judgmental, grounded. All great words. Anybody want to take a crack at this grouping and just give it a word or a phrase, maybe just to describe that grouping? Good. Yeah. And then carry on for the rest of them. You guys have figured this out. Thank you very much. I'm going to zoom in here for my friends that are just watching. Hopefully you can read that a little better. One of the hardest things to do when we're in Mural is to get the scale right. It's difficult. We don't always get it quite right, but we can make the words here bigger in a moment. Okay. Give it another minute. I see under the fire here, the fire picture, organized, well-spoken, simple, prepared, great questions, organized. What word, phrase would we use to describe that? You do have to play nice. It's only one person per square. Find another one. Looks good. Okay. Vibe. Good word, you guys. Okay, let's take a look and see here. So this first grouping, just as a quick review, you guys have said this first column, you need to be an active listener. And as a reminder, the question we were asking, what are the qualities, characteristics, and competencies of a successful facilitator? Successful facilitators need to be active listeners. They need to have some empathy, demonstrate empathy, show empathy. They need to be adaptable, articulate, and prepared and organized. Absolutely. Your vibe. It's a good word. That's a great word. Okay. Do we have anybody that can throw something in for this camera? The camera grouping. I see role modeling, constructive feedback, confident, prepared, active, participation, prep, charismatic. Yeah, absolutely. Prepared and organized, for sure. There we go. Okay, play nice. Try not to delete other people's wording, but you can always add to it as well. No problem. Trauma informed, good one. Okay. Neutral, engaging, attentive to time, etc. Okay. So you're getting the idea of the process here. We are going to stop the sorting and the naming here. We do need to leave this activity, but well done, you guys. We are going to move on. So if you're with me, zoom out. And we are going to move over to the right to the final top secret area. And let me just unlock it so you guys can see it. And I'm just going to remove it. Okay, and then you're going to zoom into this table here on the top right side of the screen. And then I'm going to just ask you just to pause your cursors. Once you get it centered on your screen, just pause your cursors and just kind of maybe move them to the right, because I know we can't turn them off for everybody as well, but I'll turn mine off for the folks that are watching along here as well. Okay, so this table shows the results of a group of professional facilitators associated with the ICA facilitation program. This is what they wrote when asked the same question we asked you. What are the competencies of a facilitator? And these professional facilitators created 7 themes or groups. And this is what they said. They said that you need to be a knowledgeable planner, like being prepared, organized, and ready. It's helpful when you have moral, principled behavior. This includes leading by example, being yourself, having fun, valuing every person's input, and so on. There's a group that was named innovative, adaptable, dancer, right? Being quick on your feet, being a good, moving from section to section, right? Improvising for sure. Competent, conscious leadership is another group. This includes good timing, managing participants, calming and confident and intentional. Facilitators also need to have some great technical skills, good time management, etc. You understand process as well and are good at communicating. The facilitator also uses a full range of communication. They clarify, they listen. They're able to read the group. And finally, facilitators are building trustful relationships. They create a team environment. They build generative and safe space. They are participant focused, and they're also learning and so much more. And we learn all the time as well. So all in all, facilitators have some skills. Now we are moving to another activity. Of the same 7 main qualities, characteristics, and competencies of a successful facilitation, I'm going to get you to choose just 2 of these skills that you think are your strengths. And we're going to use a voting feature in Mural as well. So just, again, the question is, which 2 are your strengths? Take a look at the blue, and I'm just going to need to pause. I'm going to set up the vote, and I'll give you a few more instructions in just a moment. Okay, if you're following along with me in Zoom, you can see that I'm starting a voting session. I'm going to give you, let's just set this up. Don't touch anything yet, friends. You need to create the space that you're voting in. This is one of those things that you just can't do ahead of time, so you'll just have to bear with me. Okay, again, the question is, which 2 are your strengths? What 2 qualities listed here in the blue squares do you feel are your strengths? Which 2 qualities do you think you're good at or comfortable with? If you're in Mural with me, a box should have appeared and popped up on your screen. Click on that red Begin Voting button. Then click on the 2 squares and choose the 2 competencies you feel are your strengths. When you voted twice, go ahead and click on the white End Voting Session box at the top right side. I'm just going to give you a moment. Okay, about half of you guys have voted already, so you got about another 20 seconds before I close the vote. Okay, I see the voting is slowing down, so I am going to close it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I am ending the session for everyone, so if you didn't have enough time, I'm sorry. So good work. There's a lot of different responses, but this is what you guys have said. 39 of you said building trustful relationships. 31 of you said in second place, moral principle behavior. 24 of you said knowledgeable planner. And then we go down from there for the top 3. So back to your regular screen. We are going to repeat this here in a minute. So if you're with me, you can see the red circles. That's the votes that were there for each one. And that's collectively with the 100 of us that were in Mural. That's what we're saying collectively: moral principle behavior, knowledgeable planner. Oh, and build trustful relationships. It's over there on the other side of the screen. Pretty neat, hey? Let's do it one more time. This time we're going to do the flip side of that. Which 2 competencies do you need to work on the most? Which 2 are your weaknesses? Exact same process, but you have to wait for me to turn on the voting. And if you want to see, follow along on my Zoom screen, because I am screen sharing. I'm going to start a voting session. I am going to say which 2 are the weaknesses. You're getting 2 votes, and I'm making it a selected section as well. So I'm hitting next. This area set up now. I'm going to open it up to voting. Again, if you're in Mural with me, a box should have popped up on your screen, and you click on the red Begin Voting button. Then click on the 2 squares and choose the 2 competencies you feel are your weaknesses or that you would like to work on. Okay, and I'm just watching that voting countdown number. Click down. Okay, I'm down to the last 40 people. So let's give you another 10 seconds. So I'm closing the voting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to end the voting session for everyone, and let's see what you guys have said. Okay. So weaknesses, where we're not so hot, and I can kind of concur. Technical skills, 80 or 38 of us said technical skills we need to work on those. Competent, conscious leadership, for sure. Full range of communication as well. Okay. And as you can see, the numbers are changed. The voting results are in purple now as well. Okay. Good work, you guys. Thanks for playing it with us in Mural and giving it a whirl. It's kind of nice to see new tools and techniques as well. Thanks for your input. It's important to know what you need to work on as a facilitator as well, isn't it? So that's it for showing you the competencies of a facilitator. That's it for the Mural board today. And one way you can vote online in Mural. The digital tool we used today was Mural. We showed you a few features in Mural, and if you'd like to dive deeper into the world of Mural, this is where you can go, and the Mural links are going to be put in the chat box as well. So now let's go back to our slides. I'll minimize this one. Let's pull out my slides. So if you're in Mural, go ahead and close that out now. And then come back to Zoom and just take a look at the slides as well. Here we go. So the process that we just went through on the Mural board is called Affinity Process. The Affinity Process is a tool that promotes thoughtful generation of ideas that are then grouped based on natural relationships between those items. Ideas are captured either on an online collaboration space like Mural or physically using a wall in a room. To do this process, you need cards or anything that you can write on and move around. Affinity process is useful for capturing and grouping large amounts of ideas or data. And it's great because it does not require long discussions and it encourages the creative identification of many points or issues. Affinity process is used to generate and organize lots of ideas. You use it when you want people to feel engaged and involved in the process. You use it to include quiet, shy members and to avoid more vocal members from dominating. Don't use this process if there are clear options already and no room to create more ideas. And please note that this information is in your toolkit as well. So we have come to the end of our session today, and we have discussed what is facilitation and the role of the facilitator. We have discussed the difference between presenting, training, chairing, and facilitating. And we've discussed the competencies of a facilitator. Everyone being clear on what the role of the facilitator will be very important lead in for next week when we dig into designing, preparing for, and delivering the facilitated sessions. So this is just a primer and a prep for next, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week as well. So tell me, and throw your responses into the chat box, that would be great. Tell me, what are some key learnings that you have had from this basic facilitation skills role of the facilitator session? Again, if you can throw them in the chat box, that would be great. Yeah, the online tools, there's lots out there. Magical Mural, we do like Mural. The top skills, the 3 roles. Yeah, is the diversity and the breadth of when you can use facilitation skills as well. Yeah, the tools, right? Absolutely love learning about the tools, affinity process, and knowing when to use it for sure. Check the toolkit. The last session number 4 on Wednesday is there's a whole section on toolkit on the fit processes that we could use as well. And we'll kind of give you an overview of processes on day 4 as well. Strengths and weaknesses. Yeah, love Mural. Good. 3 roles of facilitator. Yeah, and that video is pretty great, isn't it? Lots of points. Thank you very much. Yes, you do need to register for the next session. You need to register for every single one because they're all a different Zoom link as well. So if you can get back into Eventbrite and register for sessions 2, 3, and 4, we'd love to see you. We sure enjoy delivering those and hearing and interacting with you guys as well. Okay. Yeah, so everything else, please add to the chat box as well. We sure appreciate it. So just as a recap, in our basic facilitation skills journey so far, we've completed the role of the facilitator. Next time on Monday, we're going to continue with our basic facilitation skills journey by exploring, designing, and preparing for facilitated sessions. The next webinar on Monday was looking specifically at process and content, as well as assessment, outcomes, and participant considerations. Also on Monday, and make sure you guys all hear me about this, on Monday, we're going to be using a couple Zoom features, including Zoom whiteboards and Zoom polls. If you haven't updated your Zoom recently, please, 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 before Monday, update your Zoom so that you can use those Zoom features as intended. We know folks have had difficulties using the whiteboard feature if they don't have a recent Zoom. So in the chat box is just a way to update Zoom. Please just do that. That would be super helpful, and that's just going to make your Monday go so much better as well. And before we open up the Q&A session, we would like to get your feedback on this webinar. It will inform how we move forward with future webinars, and we do rate every single one. So please complete the online evaluation form right now. You will see a link in the chat box. Simply click on the link and the evaluation form should pop up on your screen. This information is really helpful. Your feedback is appreciated. Once completed, you'll see a submit button. Simply click and submit. I'm going to give you a full minute here just to get those evaluations done, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A as well. So again, if you're still here with me, we are going to do Q&A right away, but take a minute, complete that evaluation. Just your comments are very much appreciated. Click on the link and the evaluation form should pop up. And once you're completed, just click the submit button as well. Okay, the link should be in the chat box. Maybe we could put it back in one more time. You might have to scroll in up because there's lots of us talking. And let's get to questions. Hopefully that was enough time. Again, if you haven't finished the evaluation, go ahead and finish that now. That's very much appreciated. What questions do you guys have for us? We have a few minutes here. Please type any or all questions related to this session into the chat box, and we'll try to answer as many as we can.
Sorry, I was a little hop behind there. I was answering a couple questions. Heather.
That's okay. Yes. I'm just noting the time anyway, Scott. Why don't I just, if you have to go, that's perfectly okay. I'm going to finish our little run through on the screens, PowerPoint, but we will stick around for a minute or two when we close just to answer any questions. So again, feel free to pop any questions into the chat box as well. So once again, here's a listing of all the webinars offered by the Community Development Unit this winter. These sessions are open for registration. So if you're interested in any of them, or if you know someone that might be interested, please click on the registration link in the chat box or pass the information on to others. We'd love to have you join us again at a future session. And also, once again, as a reminder, we have a number of board nonprofit related self-directed online courses and video recordings you can access via our Nonprofit Learning Center. And the Nonprofit Learning Center has been put into the chat box now as well. And of course, if you have a question or need to further information or would like to request services, you can contact us through in a variety of ways, and they are on the screen and in the chat box as well. And if you want to be informed of our future services, you could add your email address to the form, to the subscription form, and so that you get updates from us as well. And this information is in your toolkit as well. Other than that, thank you. Hopefully we'll see you again on Monday. And just a reminder that the session on Monday is an hour and a half. So we're going to start at 10 to 11:30. Tuesday and Wednesday, we do go for 2 hours. So prepare for 10 a.m. to noon as well for Tuesday and Wednesday. Thank you for your participation today. Take care, and always remember that your communities have so much more because of everything you do. See you Monday. Bye, everyone.